So excited about this particular presentation on Salish language and culture. Thanks for being here. Welcome.
That's next. We'll get started with our presentation.
That's next. Gene Beaverhead, Louis Quest. Since we may am yelling ʷusm. Dami stetlu yekest cool ben gest. So while open at moose bench chinyala. It's hitching to Dami step and benin command. Well, Nicholas still away see what Nick Hodge sent to Mason what jet. So go to ask Quaybel Quest Hoyamos seven and Jessels. Some quest Colum has squawks and Jessels shake. Louis Shan wishful she's Louis Paus. What damn Schminkway up and Cassia. Shake to guest Kuliel. Now in command to Nekas Castiaman suit, but Yasin Colson suit and Damin Commandly Shep and Shake Lord's Hitler yet Wasket Castiaman suit to Susu Wetel Tichulula, but Heslu best Hoy, best Ya Nunum Clue, what Clue stump them Clue Scale, Cassin Scale, Lucas Old Clue, Jen. So thank you. My name's Gene Beaverhead. I've been here at school. I'm a language teacher at ʷusm. Been here for 14 years, and it's not easy. It's not an easy job, but it's a good job. It's good. It's good. Like when you're walking around somewhere, or you're at the store, or gassing up or wherever, and you hear a little voice that says, "Hey," well, in Chessels, that's what they call me here, Grumpy. "Hey, in Chessels, but just Jan, hey, Grumpy, how are you doing? Hey, Grumpy, good morning, good day." That's what it's all about. That's what makes your heart feel good when you hear those little ones, and you're making a difference, and you actually hear it. They actually talk to you. And it's also, I'm glad that we get all these different people to come together. And I know it's on a computer, since I'm not a fan of it, but that's just the way it is these days. And it's probably going to be for a while. But yeah, I'm glad we can come together and kind of learn a little bit on how to teach native and learn a little bit about different ways of doing things. And so you can learn like what we do. We got a good team here. I'm just a very small part. Got 3 more behind me that are going to talk a little bit, and we're about 4 out of a dozen here. So thank you for listening to me a little bit. I just gonna open it up for just a second, and then let these guys get into the nitty gritty. Lemlemsh.
And just to let you know that we've got teachers from across the United States that are part of the Indian education community. So by being virtual, we're reaching a lot of people. So thank you so much.
Help Pesia Senchlu in Kadlius Quest to Sinyad Minuchi schedule. Lemlam Schwil Sui Huich Yadla Lemlam's Gene. Pesia. Good morning, everybody. My name's Chaney Bell. I'm the adult program director for ʷusm, Salish language school here on the Flathead reservation. And just want to welcome everybody, and thanks to Gene for opening up our little session here with you all. We're gonna kind of take you on a little tour, I guess, or journey with about who we are as a people and kind of why our or how and why our little school here exists in Arlee. So we'll get started. So for those of you who don't know, we're on the Flathead reservation here in Montana, northwest Montana. We're the Salish and ispe people of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. There's another tribe here, the Kootenai. They're a different language group, and I did see that Vernon Finley is on later today, so he'll be able to share about who the Kootenai people are. But the Salish and ispe are two different tribes, but we speak the same language, so we're kind of like sister tribes. And I'll get into kind of where we come from and how we ended up on this reservation. But to get started, you know, for our people, we like to kind of acknowledge and give thanks to, you know, we do a lot of different things with prayer and acknowledge our ancestors and give thanks that we're here today. For our people, we always start, you know, our creation stories, and these stories, we only tell them in the wintertime, but they hold a lot of values and a lot of significance about who we are as a people. And we tell these every winter to our children, to our people. And I just want to acknowledge, you know, that this is kind of where we start with who we are when we teach our kids. We can't really tell them right now, but when you're as a teacher, you know, and you got your children and you're talking about who we are as people, you know, every nation, every tribe has their own way of talking about who they are. And ours starts with these coyote stories, and we tell these in the winter time, and there's a lot of good ones out there. And so I just want to kind of acknowledge, you know, that's our beginning of how we teach our children. Traditionally, you know, our people lived in kind of northwest Montana. Our territory went all the way over to the Yellowstone, out into the plains, northwest Montana, southwest Canada, Idaho and Washington. The Salish people are big people, and the Salish, the Bitterroot Salish and the ispe people lived kind of a seasonal cycle life, and they would travel to these different areas depending on what time of the year it was. And this post right here kind of shows that. We use this as a teaching guide, and you can see it has skeps for spring, Saant, J, and East. And just to share with you all kind of our seasonal cycle. We call it the round. This is our life cycle. And this is kind of how we base a lot of our traditional ways. Our school's based on this, and we follow this cycle just like our ancestors did to this day. So in the springtime our plants will start coming up, and we'll have our bitterroot dig, our first food ceremony coming up here pretty soon, and that kind of kicks off this cycle. And so just wanted to share that. That's kind of how we still do that today. We follow this cycle, and good poster that kind of shares that. Here's some pictures that kind of show our ancestors. The top left one is in the Bitterroot, or in the Missoula Valley, before all the development was there. It was a prime area for Bitterroot. Our people went there every spring, and that's in the Missoula Valley right there, and they're harvesting Bitterroot spetlum. The right one is camas, which is one of our next foods right after Bitterroot, and they're both really important, and they would harvest these and prepare them to be able to save for the winter time. And so just to kind of share those two plants, and then you go to the bottom on the right, that's a dry meat rack, and then on the left is some ispe people in canoes, just to kind of see a traditional way of life, the way our people kind of lived, and lived that seasonal cycle. This is kind of a quick timeline of our history, of who this the Bitterroot Salish and the Upper Kalispel or Upper Kudlispe or Pend d'Oreille people are. You know, you got creation. We know about the Anzac Boy 12,500 years ago near ʷusm area. We know that our tribes, the Salish people, were one people, and because of different things, we spread apart, and we kind of estimate, you know, maybe around 4,000 years ago that happening. In the 1700s, the Salish people acquired horses, and this was one of those first big changes from that seasonal cycle of life that our people lived. When we got horses, it really changed things. We took horses in very quickly and adapted them to our culture, and they really became part of our culture. But it also changed how quick we could move. Before this, we walked most places, and we used dogs to help us, and things moved a little bit slower. So horses really changed, and it not only moved things quicker, it also created more interaction between our other bands of Salish, also with other tribes. And there was also a little bit more conflict happening with horses, partly because other tribes wanted horses, but moving around quicker, just different things happen. So this was one of our first big changes, was getting horses. It was a really awesome thing, but it also really changed who we were. We could really spend more time on the plains when we got horses, and the Bitterroot Salish were really out on the plains a lot more than the Kalispel, the Upper Pend d'Oreille. And when horses came in, hunting buffalo really changed, and so it just was a big change for the Salish and Kudlispe people. In 1855, we had a meeting with the Bitterroot Salish, and their chief was Chief Victor. The Upper Pend d'Oreille or Upper Kudlispe, their chief was Chief Alexander, and the Kootenai people. And when we first went into this negotiation, we thought it was about a kind of a peace treaty between us and other tribes on the plains, because every time we would go onto the plains, there would be huge conflict. Buffalo were getting scarcer, and people were really trying to get buffalo, and there was a lot of conflict out on the plains. And we thought that this kind of what the main reason behind this treaty was, to help that with that conflict. Well, it was about removing the Bitterroot Salish out of the Bitterroot and creating a Flathead reservation, and there's a lot to this negotiations, and a lot to our treaty that you could spend a whole day on. So, but this is how we reserved, when we signed this, we reserved a piece of land here in the Mission Valley for our people, for the Salish, the Kalispel, and the Kootenai people. And that it is now the Flathead Reservation, Flathead Nation. And officially now we're called the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes. And it started with the Hellgate Treaty. So there's a lot of things that happen. We're telling a lot of history in this quick time. So, a lot of stuff happened between, signing the treaty and then the tribes being removed from the Bitterroot, and all the three tribes being put onto the reservation. So there's a lot of history that we're kind of going over real quickly. But another big thing, so there's Western expansion happening. America's growing. A lot's going on. That's why they wanted Indians removed, and that's why they created reservations. And there's a lot of history into that. And a big thing was, these Indian people across the country are just in the way of what we're trying to do. And one of the policies was just to, let's exterminate them. Let's get rid of Indian people so that America can grow. These Indians are in the way. And that was a policy. Well, because of, there are good people out there, we might not always see eye to eye on things, but at this time, some good people stepped forward and basically, that this isn't a good way to handle it. And they talked about maybe, having the conversations about, let's create these boarding schools, let's assimilate the Indian into our way instead of just killing them. And so those conversations happen, and they get rid of the policy of wiping Indians out and let's assimilate them. And boarding schools was one of the ways that they put out there to do that. And they used the churches. A lot of churches were given money from the government to move into Indian country, set up these boarding schools, and assimilate Indian people. And the first thing they did, and they understood, was that if you remove the language from somebody, how that affects them. Their language is so important that if you can get rid of that first, everything else will follow. And they knew this, and so they started to push to not only assimilate, but to start teaching English as their main language. And boarding schools happened here on our reservation, but they happened all over, and they had some huge effects on our people. And it started that process of assimilating us into the dominant culture. And again, a lot of things happen. This is just a quick timeline. But in the 1940s, 1950 to 1950s, there was a new policy. Boarding schools worked, but then, those kind of died out a little bit. And they made another attempt to find a way to assimilate Indians, but also start, looking at getting the rest of the land. The idea that there's still these reservations out there. How do we acquire that land as well? And so they have a lot of different policies, but this was one of them. And it was the termination period of termination policy for the US government. And this one, the relocation was, they went in, they took families and moved them into the cities all over the country. Instead of doing the assimilation on the reservation, they just took the people and moved them. And a lot of those people and their descendants are still living within cities. There's huge populations of Native Americans in these cities. And so this is another policy that did a lot of hurt to our people and broke us up in an attempt to basically wipe us out culturally, to take away our language, our culture, our identity. In the 1970s, all across Indigenous country, you go to New Zealand, you go to Hawaii, Canada, US, there's this kind of awakening going on. And a lot of things start happening across Indian country. And you start to see tribes kind of wake up a little bit and understand and look at the past and see everything that's happened to them. And they can really see that their children are not growing up with the language. Their children are not learning their culture. And so it's kind of a reawakening going on. And it happened here as well. And our tribe started these, started culture committees, a Kootenai culture committee and a Salish Cuddly Spec culture committee. And kind of led by Johnny Arlee at that time. If you see this picture right here, Johnny's on the top row on the very end, on the right side. He has the glasses on and the braids. That's Johnny Arlee. Johnny and Myrna, the lady in the middle, are only two still with us in this picture. But Johnny was the first director of our culture committee. Then it went to Clarence Woodcock, Tony Inkashola, now Sadie Pion. But Johnny's very instrumental and very supportive to this day of our language and culture. And this kind of set the stage, it set the foundation for all the things that were to come. Johnny brought these elders together and started recording them. And they started talking about the old things that they knew. And their number one message at that time was, take this information and give it to our children. We want them to know these things and learn about who they are, where they come from. And so this really set the stage. There it goes. And so a lot of things happened from the 70s. They really tried a lot of things. They recorded, talked to elders, had evening classes, did a lot of things in public schools. From the 70s to, the late 90s, there was a lot of different things. But what we come to realize really in the early 2000s, late 90s is there was this real big push and understanding of how important our language is. And our tribe did a lot of cultural things and they would tie language into it, but we really sat back and thought about and understood the importance of language and how the language is the foundation of everything that who we are as Salish and Cuddly-Spell people. And so it became the most urgent part of what we're doing. And we really started to focus on language, knowing that when you learn your language, your culture, your traditions, your songs, they start coming out of that when you have that foundation. And so with our language, we say skedliu. That's kind of how we describe ourselves. Chi skedliu. I'm from this land. I'm a human being from this land. And if you can see on this picture, the Salish, Cuddly-Spell, and then Poke Chaney, Shinsin, the Spokane people. Those three tribes, we speak the same language. And the family group is called Salishan, the Salish language families, and there's a lot of other languages under there. But for our people, we speak this dialect in the Salish, Cuddly-Spell, and Spokane. We all understand each other. And so we work together. And we have focused our efforts in a lot of different areas. And these are the people that are currently and in the past have worked on language. And so Salish Kootenai College, public schools, Two Eagle School, the Culture Committee, Head Start, and these other tribes that speak our language, we all work together to focus our efforts on language, focus on language with the hopes of bringing back our language first, then our culture, our traditions, our songs, so that our people know who they are, where they come from. And this is kind of my last slide with what I'm kind of sharing. And these three words and sayings, I like to share them in Yo-Yo Waddles. When you say that in Yo-Yo Waddles, you're telling somebody that they're strong. But there's a little bit more. If you say yo-yo, that's telling somebody like they're physically strong. But when you say yo-yo waddles, you're talking about kind of their whole person, their mind, their heart. And it describes a way of our people, their resilience. All the things that we've been through, we're still here. That we have that resilience, that in yo-yo waddles. Kwashit Esia. We know what our ancestors have been through, and we're so thankful that they fought and struggled and did all they could to hold on to our stories, to hold on to our language. And we're so thankful, and they passed it on to us. And so what we tell our kids and what we remind ourselves, that we have a responsibility to pass that on. It's our responsibility to do what we can when we receive something to pass it on to somebody else. And imshek kweitlamist. This is hard work that we're doing, really hard work. Being a teacher is hard work. But you can only do your best. We definitely understand and teach our people that you need to be prepared to do your best, but you can only do what you can do. And we tell ourselves that because you can get caught up sometimes and you have a dream and you're not quite at that goal. You haven't reached that ultimate goal, but you're still working towards it, and to remind yourself that, you know, these little steps are important. And so we tell each other all the time, do your best, you know. So and we're gonna go into and share, you know, when we talk about language and all the different things going on, one of our efforts is we started a language school. And I'm going to let Elizabeth, she'll introduce herself and talk about our school. Lemlup.
Pasia Hasquext, Lisa Pe, Dirush Louis Quest, to Nkak Uchi Schedule, who yes, me ma'am to CCNE, who includes snats Kaminton, who in Tom Skachet to Snook, who can't to Ulu Lim. Chines lemti at wasket siap ya le chines lemti toma casio nunam lu kan nuwashten lu kan kudlumen lu in kadliu sutin. Good morning, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Durouche. I work at Kusum. I'm the math teacher, and I also drive the bus. I write grants. I do everything I can to help the school reach their mission. I am from Arley. I was raised here in Arley, which is where the school is located, and went away for a while, went to school, came back, finished my schooling here in Montana, SKC, and now I'm working in Kusum. So just wanted to greet you all in our language and let you know a little bit about myself. Chaney just gave the history of our people and where we're at now in the language, because of the practices and the everything that happened with assimilation and termination, all that kind of stuff, that we're here at this school trying to save our language and working with the kids every day to do so. And Kusum was founded in 2002. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The mission of Kusum is dedicated to recreating a process whereby the Salish language is passed from parents to children, elder to youth, in an effort to holistically preserve the language, perpetuating the Salish way of life and worldview. Here at Kusum, we have two elders or two fluent speakers that we work with. And they are, earlier you heard from Ignatius, we call him Ignatius, Grumpy, but his name is Gene Beaverhead. And then we also work with our elders, Stephen Small Salmon. And in these pictures here, we have Stephen on the left, Soupy on the top, who is no longer with us, Sophie, Kwikwisu, and Potalik Pierre. were the 3 elders that started at the school from the very beginning. Our school's been going for 20 years now. We just celebrated we're in our 21st year. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. And then in the middle, we have our founders, which is Chaney Bell, Melanie Sandoval, Josh Brown, and Ticini Pete. They had this vision of creating a school where we could teach the language. Melanie Sandoval has a quote here. I'll just read it to you real quick of what their idea was when they started in ʷusm. It became apparent to us, a group of second language learners, that we needed a major move to bring back our language. We decided to create a nonprofit to encourage language use in our community. In 2002, we established ʷusm Salish language school, modeled after the Maori and Hawaiian language nests. So that is kind of how ʷusm came to be, and who was all involved in that process over 20 years ago now. So here we have a couple pictures from the school. We really work at the school to keep the kids in the language, keep them in their culture, everything that they do. When we start out our day, we have a gathering time. Well, we used to do it every day. Since our school has grown so much, we do it every Monday now, but we call it Yam and Suit. And that's just when we gather all the kids together and get them ready for the day. We sing songs, we pray, we smudge, and we just encourage the kids to just get ready, prepare their minds, remind them why we're at ʷusm, that we're going to be learning the language. It's just a really good time to focus and to remember what we're doing and to get on the same page. And it's just a good way to start the day out with the kids. And, a lot of times they might have had a rough weekend, or, they might just be busy doing other things like sports, or their minds are kind of somewhere else. But when we take that time and we come together and we focus, it just really starts the week out strong, and for everybody to put their heart into what we're doing here at ʷusm. So Patalik was one of our elders who is no longer with us, but he would always sing a song with the kids every morning. And since he's been gone, we still continue to sing that song every day. And we just wanted to play our kids singing that song. We recently went to the Medicine Tree, which is one of our field trips, and they sang it at the Medicine Tree, and it was really powerful and awesome to see our kids doing that. Let's see, I don't think we're gonna be able to open the file that we had linked on that. All right.
You might need to just change which screen you're sharing. So if you can grab the link and go to your internet, you can put the link in and then switch which screen you're sharing. Because I want to hear. We're all patient. We're all used to this Zoom stuff now.
Okay.
Okay,
we are. We're gonna keep going along. Maybe we could, I don't know, figure something out. But sorry about that. We had it on there yesterday when we ran through it. Okay, so we start out our day. We do our prayer. We smudge, and then we say our pledge. Every one of our kids is doing so awesome. They all know our pledge. And when we go and present, this is one of the things that they'll present to everybody. And so I'll just read it real quick to you. This was created by Sophie Kwekwasu Mays. And it says, Achalaske Salish Nuwawashtin Lukaxio Nunam. Imsha ka okstowel, taka kas choyan sutumstum, Lukas sinkuskaliu. Imsha ka puta entum esiatlu ulsuk mimeam. Imsha ka quaislamist, tapi stem kakstrumshkanamist. So this pledge is saying that we're here to learn our language. We're gonna help each other. We're not gonna laugh at our fellow Indian people. We're gonna respect our teachers. We're gonna do our best, and we will never give up. And so every day when we focus our students on what we're doing here at Inkusum, they say this pledge, and then we sing songs with them. I don't know if this song is gonna work, but this is one of our, this is our color song. Nope, that one's not gonna go on either. Darn it, I'm sorry. We were really excited to share those songs with you. But yep, so we sing a few different songs. We do our morning song, and then we do either a color song, we count in the language, our counting song, or we do our alphabet is one of the other ones that we kind of all know and is important for our kids to know. So, and we're always adding songs. In the winter, we'll do a couple Christmas songs with them. It's just a good, fun time of singing and getting together as a school. So, oh, excuse me. Okay, so this is a picture of us when we went to present at the, present to our tribal council. And so all of our kids are, you know, practicing those songs, and we'll go and present and let everybody know about our school. We do have 42 kids at the school right now, and we operate with 13 staff and teachers. We have a preschool that has 2 of our teachers in there, Nicole Perry and Susely Pete. Nicole is currently working through SKC and the SLED program on her degree and a bachelor's in early childhood education. And then we have the K through 8, which is a little bit different. We run it a little bit different. We teachers rotate around through the classrooms. And on this end we have, or at the K8 end, we have myself, I'm the math teacher. And then we have Shanna White, who is the English reading teacher. And then we have Jean, who is one of our fluent Salish speakers. Alan Pierre, he's in this picture down on the right. He's a cultural arts teacher. We have, Dan. We have Dan Brown, who is another language teacher. So our kids get, all of us, about an hour every day. And so they're getting a lot of language and they love the cultural arts. That's their favorite classroom. They love Alan's classroom because they get to go in there and create, you know, whatever they want. Just basically how he approaches it. And so if they want to make a necklace, or if they want to bead something, if they want to make a dress, you can see their skirts in these pictures. A lot of them make skirts, or they're just really creative, and they like to, they like to do that class. So one of their favorites. And then we have Echo Brown, who is K1. So she'll just stay with the K1 kids all day, and she gives them their language and their reading and their math. We also partner with speech and occupational therapy. We have our kitchen staff, and then we have our adult language room. So all of our staff comes through the adult language throughout the day, and they get to sit with Stephen and we try to get them through the adult language curriculum. But yeah, we get to sit with Stephen and hear a lot of his stories, and basically be in immersion with Stephen, hearing stories and things like that. So this is some of our different field trips that we've been on and different class activities that we do. Up at the top is a language class, I believe, with Dan, and he works teaching them just basic vocabulary. And then they play games, have the different pictures for the different words. The middle, they're painting. I mean, these kids have a lot of fun. We get to go on a lot of field trips, especially right now. Chaney showed you the round that we use. And so we're getting into a lot of those field trips. We just went to the medicine tree, and we're going to be doing TB polls. We got to harvest a buffalo this year. That's the picture down on the left where we're cutting dry meat. And then, yeah, there's just a lot of different things that we do. This time of the year is busy. And then through the summer, we try to keep the kids involved. Powwows are going right now. We do have fundraisers. This year we started fundraising and really trying to support our royalty. And so down on the left is our this year's royalty, which is just our ʷusm princess and our ʷusm warrior, Cadence Pierre and ʷusm Bell. And just different activities that we're doing. Some more pictures, hide tanning in the middle. Alan does a really good job. We try to do that every year. We haven't got to get back to doing that since COVID, but we're working on it because it's a huge process to get all that done. But our kids learn, they pick up a lot, and all the different activities we do with them, they just have a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm just looking at all these. Okay, so then at the top, we were collecting sage. So we go out and collect our medicines. We teach them about the land. We do huckleberries in the summer with them. There's just a lot of different, it's not all classroom. It's not all sitting in a classroom, and we are outside a lot and we are on the go a lot. And these kids really know their community and their surroundings and where to go to get different things. And they meet a lot of different people and elders, work with their elders, and just really good stuff. The middle picture is a picture of our canoe. So I'll let Daniel take over at this point because this was his project, and he'll let you know about the adult language room also. Thank you. I'm not.
No, has what specia Tanel Queensum Lee Chilqui Louis Quest to Chisuf me mayam Lucan Quadquat and Lucha and Kusum Snats came in then Chin Taquale Lucha vessel spent. My name is Daniel Brown. I'm a language teacher here at Kusum. This is my second, finishing up my second year teaching here. And I do the, so there's two language teachers here, me and Jean. My homeroom is fourth grade. Jean that takes third grade, but we rotate through all of the classes. I use the adult curriculum that how I learn, which I'll get into here in a little bit, to teach with the pictures and stuff. And then Gene supports that when, being a fluent speaker, he really shows the kids how to use all the vocab and grammar and stuff that I try to teach them. These pictures here, last year we were approached by our sister tribe down the river, the lower Kalispel people, and they gave us a cedar log and asked if we wanted to do a canoe, something we've been talking about. Canoes was big in our culture before horses. It's been lost here on this reservation for quite a while. And it's something that me and Chaney and Steepy and the school here, we talked about a lot. And then when they showed up one day and dropped off a log, we decided we better get to it. So that was the peeling process there. So we had the kids help, pretty much the kids helped us peel the log towards the end of the year because we got it in springtime. And then some of us staff kind of did the brunt of the finishing it throughout the summer last year, because there's a lot of, being the first one we've ever done, we didn't really know what we were doing. So we spent the summer and that's kind of the end result that we got. We got a dugout canoe. So here in ʷusm, we have we call it the adult language program, and that's the room that you see behind me here. This is our fluent elder, Stephen Small Salmon's, pretty much his office, and we all come through here. Most of us come through here. We're trying to figure out, we're a pretty small school with a small staff, so some people aren't able to come in right now. But coming through here is very important because it's really hard when you're teaching to continue your own learning. And so being sure that you come in for your hour a day with Stephen is really critical, because he comes in and he just talks the language for an hour, and he knows. And now with Chaney, we have an actual adult. We have plans for each teacher to continue their own learning. So it's not, if we have a teacher who's on a lower level, and immersion can be pretty intimidating, when you sit there for an hour and you don't hear anything but our language, and you might not know what he's saying. So with Chaney here and him and Stephen paired together, we got some pretty good, our teachers will be learning a lot more. And that's important, because when you go to the classroom, there's a lot of stuff. I've been in the language for 4 going on 5 years, and I've learned quite a bit. I learned a lot, but I still get those times in the classroom where I don't even know how to stay in the language for certain things, and that's just where all of us teachers need to level up and get to the point where we can stay in the full immersion. And the adult language program that we put all the teachers through here is what's going to get us there. So yeah, and that's pretty much kind of what we got going on here at ʷusm. So give it back over to the man.
Well, I see we're getting close to the end of time. We didn't get through all of our slides here, but we do partnership with the college and the culture committee and do a lot of adult language stuff. We're thankful for these partnerships. They'd be awesome people to invite on one of these gatherings to share their story, how we're connected, and the things they're doing. There's a lot more students in their programs. When we speak to other language programs, we like to kind of at the end ask them, and I ask your teachers, stemtluid las ws, what's in your heart, and when we ask people learning their language, what is it you really want? You got to really look into yourself, because the language journey is a lot for people that have the things we've been through as a people, and you start learning your language, a lot of stuff comes out, a lot of trauma can come out, and a lot of healing happens. And so, you got to really, what is it you want to do? And the same thing could be said to a teacher, you know, why are you in this position? Why do you want to be a teacher? And when I think about myself, that's my boy standing there in this canoe. It's ʷusm. And that's why I do it. I do it for my kids, for my children. And the cool thing is that I get to be around a lot of other people that I get to share with and learn with. And so that journey is awesome, but I'm on this journey for my children so that they know a little bit more than I knew growing up. And they're going to hit, you know, when we talk about language, nothing's perfect. We all live in this world, right? It's not there's nothing out there that's going to make you a perfect human being, but what we're giving our children is their identity and an understanding. And within that culture that they learn, that language they learn, they now have tools when they reach those hard moments in life to get over those hurdles, to go around those hurdles, to problem solve, people to reach out to. We're giving them that community. And, you know, I hope that for all children in this world, you know, we want good things for everybody. And that's what we're trying to do in our school here, just that little bit that we can for our children. And at the beginning, this is kind of my last slide. Our title was ʷusm. They're happy and running around. And if some of you seen that or not, why maybe we have that title, but Stephen, he was sitting right over here in that chair. And last week, our kids were outside playing when it was nice. We had one nice day, I think, and they were running around outside, but he was just sitting in his chair, just looking out the window. And he said, "Oh man," and he was kind of speaking in English, and he said, "Just look at that. Look at those children. They're so full of energy and they're happy." And he just had this content, awesome feeling. I said, "Well, tell me that in the language." And he started talking in the language, and part of what came out, he said, "SNPED, so US Kopshis." I said, "Oh, that's going to be my title." But it was just cool, a cool thing. You know, and that's why we're here, those moments. That's why you're a teacher. Sometimes you never see these children or the outcome, but those moments you have with your kids is, to me, well worth it. And, you know, that's a little bit of a view into who we are. You know, let me see if I can, you know, we just want to say lemlunch. You know, I don't know how much more time we have here, but we're just,
yeah, we're at the end. Matt had to step away for a little bit, so yes, lemlunch, and so wonderful to see all the faces that I recognize. Certainly Molly and Michael Munson messaged us earlier, wishing us love and support for today. So thank you all for sharing so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope I get to see you for Bitterroot Harvest for certain. So thank you so much for your time today, and if you're willing to share your presentation, you know, with links for those songs, I know folks would love, so I'll be in touch with you about that shortly. But for now, thank you so much, lemlunch, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Everyone, we're going to take a quick break until 11:10, and we'll see you back here at 11:10.